180 and when rapid speed down to 2500.
Yep, point wherever you reduce speed to 180.
Blackbox.
Hello, gang. Kenny Porter here, KP's Blackbox. This is what we're calling now our Beyond Wallstreet, the podcast edition, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Sounds about right. Dave, you don't get a vote in that, but
I like it.
But we're kicking this off today. My good friend, well, that's probably a stretch, but for the camera, we'll say my good friend.
I'll take it.
The president of Leap Systems, David Wiesner, the David Wiesner, who's been on the podcast before.
That's right.
So we've got him back in the studio today with the three amigos. My son Isaiah Porter, Mr. Wesley Gomez, our Chief Investment Officer of Kenneth Porter Wealth Management, and then newest member of our team and retiree. I'm trying to remember what title we gave you, Shorty.
Chief Operations.
Shannon Shortridge,
Yep.
Chief Operations Officer.
Got it, first time.
Advisor extraordinaire.
First time. I love
Also, 10-year plus client of mine.
it. Yep.
So that's a great compliment for me. I'll pat myself on the back. To number one, keep a friend for 10 years.
Yeah.
Number two, keep a client for 10 years. Because,
Also-
you know, the industry average for a client, I think I read, was 7 years. The
I think that's
about
high. Wow, 7 years?
7 years.
Wow.
To get the 7-year itch and run. So
Makes
we
sense.
want to try to dispel some of these myths today with Mr. Dave Wiesner here. Dave, what is going on, man?
A lot.
And everybody's probably saying, Kenny, why are you holding a mic? And the rest, we ran out of lapels, so I'm stuck holding the mic today. But at any rate, tell us what's going on in the world of Dave Wiesner and Leap Systems.
I don't know. We're working on a lot of new concepts. Really things to make your life easier, make clients understand the concepts in an easy way. So lets everybody get their job done. And me being a client, I've been a client since 2019 of Leap. Even though I came in as president in 2018. But yeah.
So let's peel that onion back a little bit. So you came in 2018 to Leap Systems, but by trade, by training, outside of being a punk rocking rock star drummer, which is really your passion, right?
Yeah.
If you could make $1 million a year drumming, would you do it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well,
Wait, let me think about that.
So you had to pay the bills, so you became a programmer.
Yeah, I think we talked about that before.
Yeah.
My college experience.
Yeah.
Programming came easy to me when I was young, so I just was like, I guess that's what I'll do. Go to college for.
That's weird, man.
I know. Back in the day, like it was not normal, but yeah. And then I remember halfway through, I'm like, started playing drums in a band. I'm like, I don't know about this thing. And I told my dad, very conservative guy by nature. I was like, I think I want to quit and I want to go up to be a drummer like Berklee College of Music. My dad just went, here's what you're going to do. You're going to finish your degree. You're going to get a job, and then you could you could play all you want.
Yeah. Drum your little heart out.
Drum your little heart out after you get that job. And so I was like, okay, I guess that would work too. Yeah.
And here you are. Here you are today.
And here I am today.
But Dave, I've got to brag on him. He does still do some gigs here and there.
Yeah. Yeah, still gigging a little bit.
Still gigging.
Yeah.
Do you put a wig on? Or do you go
Only
El Natural?
It was only when I dressed as the Kiss drummer.
Oh, wait,
whole-
Full blown, yep.
Okay.
I will get you a picture of that if you want to
we
put
need
that on
pics.
the
All right,
podcast.
Jake,
but yes.
Jake.
remind us that we got to put that in our post editing. Will you? Will you
Oh yeah,
give us a picture?
absolutely. I have it on my phone. I'll get
Love
you.
it.
Yeah.
Please
Love
tell
it.
me you got the whole,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Rumor has
Face,
it.
the hair.
Do the
I got
tongue
the
thing
boots.
now, Dave.
Yeah.
How far can the tongue come out? On camera.
You're asking.
They said check out his OnlyFans.
Yeah. Rumor. Yeah. Rumor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We've got a toast here. What, Isaiah?
I said rumor has it he's 6'5" in that picture. So
6'5".
Yeah.
Close.
Okay.
Closer to 6'5"
Close?
than I am now. Yeah.
8-inch heels.
Well, Wes
Yeah.
and Dave, we adjusted furniture today so you guys could have
Thank
your
you.
feet on the floor.
Thank you. Feels
He's got a
good.
nice pillow behind his back.
Appreciate that.
Anyways, let's get serious about this. true to fashion with KP's Blackbox, anytime that we do a podcast, we always, if I miss this, somebody punch me in the face. Shorty being a fellow veteran, Isaiah, a veteran, Wes's grandfather
And father.
Yep. Both served in the
Air Force and Army. Yep.
And they have the Air Force. Well, I won't teach you guys. My father-in-law was in the Air Force. My stepfather-in-law, Navy veteran. My dad was Army National Guard. Isaiah just finished up a tour with the Army. Screaming Eagles.
Who? Air assault.
Yeah, come on. Is that how you guys say it?
Huh?
Where's the moto at?
False motivation. It's real motivation.
It's better
Okay.
than no motivation.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shannon was in the boat teams in the Navy.
Yeah.
Um,
Freshly retired.
freshly retired,
Yep.
and now got the awesome responsibility of being our chief operations officer, which he probably wishes he could go back in the Navy at this point. Go back with the clowns.
Sometimes.
Not the circus, but the clowns, right, Isaiah?
Yep.
And Dave, you had some family members who served as well, right?
Yeah, my dad, he was Army ROTC and a commissioned officer
Nice.
and served. And then his uncle Phil was land on D-Day.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Holy
Dad's-
cow!
yeah.
80th anniversary. Just
Yeah.
I don't want to say we celebrated, but honored. Back
Right.
oh God, I'm embarrassed. June 6th.
Last month.
Last month. In
June 6th.
June 6th, D-Day.
Yep.
Man, I'm going to have a lot of dudes after me for not getting that immediately out of my mouth. But the bottom line here, folks, is we want to honor all of our veterans, those who have served, who are still serving, the families who have put up with guys like Shanny. There's a new one for
no.
you. Shannon,
There we
Shorty,
go.
Shortridge,
Yeah.
and Isaiah.
Ah,
I don't know if you remember the time your dad served, but that's a big deal for families, right? When your father and mother's out for deployment. Isaiah was gone for 9 months with a little one at home, left a wife at home in Clarksville, Tennessee. So they're holding down the fort at home. I can never say enough to those families who have served, those families who have given up a family member, a brother, a sister, a husband, a wife, our Gold Star families. I mean, the list goes on. Bottom line, we salute you. Cheers.
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 And Dave, last time you shotgunned the toast.
Yeah.
How'd that work out for you?
Fun.
Fun days, right?
It was
He had
a fun
another
day.
We're gonna sip today.
Sipping's
Yes.
good.
Sipping.
This is
So
good.
let's get into it, guys. So, if I can give you a little bit of my experience with Leap Systems. So, a lot of you out there who are watching this for the financial value that we're trying to provide, not our comedic value, spelling at that,
Or lack thereof.
or lack thereof. So, Dave, my financial career goes back 27 years and some change. I entered the business officially in 1997. I started out in Virginia Beach, Virginia, as an advisor in training with a Guardian life agency called Davenport Dukes, right here in Virginia Beach. This sucks to hold a mic and your nose itches and then I got a drink in my hand. So
Yeah, I get you. I can always.
you help me out. So, I came out of active duty in the Marine Corps. I was a reservist up until 1999. But in 1997, I entered the financial business by mistake. So people have heard me talk about this in my story. I thought I was going to be in law enforcement or some form of security. That's what I did in the Marine Corps. Go Fast Company. Fake ass SEAL team is what it stands for. All right, Shorty. Those of you can look back at other podcasts and know what it really means. But anyways, so my start in the financial business, Dave, was not great. when I first started, my mentor, a guy named Ron Dukes, who, cheers, I don't know where Ron is today, but he was a great mentor. When he hired me, there was a prerequisite that the Guardian had, which was you had to do a Myers-Briggs personality test. Mm-hmm. And then the firm had an acumen test, like, can you add 2 + 2 and that equal, I think it's still 4, right? Mm-hmm. There's a DEI, conversation around. Anyways, I'm trying to exclude who's not our client by some of these things that I drop. So anyways, God, I'm gonna get myself in so much trouble. But anyways, he does this test with me, the Myers-Briggs test, this personality test. So he calls me in and he says, hey, I have good news, bad news. The good news is this acumen test you did great, no problem. Mathematically, you can handle this. The personality test, you should probably stick to being a Marine. If I could fail a test, if you could fail Myers-Briggs, it basically said that I probably wouldn't make it in the financial business, is what the tea leaves said. But he reminded me of something he had heard, and I actually had my gunnery sergeant used to say this to me all the time. And Isaiah, you'll probably be able to repeat this. You have to be smart enough to listen,
but dumb enough to do it.
Dumb enough to go do it. So that's every young PFC, private first class in the Marine Corps. Shorty, I'm sure you can relate as a sailor. If you're smart enough to listen, dumb enough to go do it, and you just keep that mentality, I don't care what you're approaching in life, financial business, programming, drumming, if you just stay at it, there'll be some success. That's what happened to me in short. I just stayed at it. I was just dumb enough to listen to my mentors. I was dumb enough to stay engaged. But my first 2 years in the business, Dave, with Guardian and the Guardian FR, the field representative, I stayed on suspension. Every quarter it was, here I'm suspended again, because I wasn't hitting the minimum production requirements to keep my Guardian contract. Isn't that crazy? 27 years later, I can tell you, back then I was embarrassed to tell anybody, right, that I was failing in the business. But one of the things that helped me succeed in the business and to have long-term success was the system of LEAP, the PS&G model, the protection, savings, and growth model that we still use with our clients today, and that I'm honored in September to share a stage with you and share the principles of the LEAP systems.
Can I ask you something, Kenny?
Yeah, please.
So I do hear this, but in not being a selling, never sold or allowed to, so I can't really, it's hard for me. I just listen and try to help you out. But so before you were doing LEAP, like what wasn't working? Yeah. Maybe, like I always, you know what I mean? Like, can you elaborate or?
Yeah, sure. What wasn't working was my people processing.
Okay.
So one of the things I'm going to talk about on stage is processing people. How do you get a person to move from where they are to really engage them in where they want to be? And how can you identify problems and understand that those problems, human beings will only make a decision if that problem can be a solution that does one of 4 things. It solves a present pain, or you're solving for a future pain, or you're solving for a present pleasure or a future pleasure. Human beings will only change what they're currently doing in one of those 4 quadrants. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
Being new in the business to having 20 years, Wes, in the business, Shorty, being a client. When we worked with you back in 2014, there was some pain there that you had. You came and said, hey, KP, here's some financial pain I'm having.
Yep.
And we worked through some solutions. We worked through some strategies.
But there was also no money philosophy either.
So speak to that.
Yeah.
The money philosophy.
Yeah. So when you look at 2014, I was 12 years in the military. No real idea what we were doing financially. Just kind of churning out day to day, getting paid on the 1st and the 15th. Then we met, and you had your coaching process in place. And,
Wealth mastery process.
Yeah, the wealth mastery process. And through that, day one, I realized I have no philosophy on like how I want to financially position my family in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And in day one, that was highlighted.
Do you think that happens a lot with military guys, that they just get used to the 1st and the 15th, and
Oh, yeah.
and Big Uncle Sam just being into
KP,
comfort?
I would say it, not just military guys, probably people in general.
Yep.
Okay.
Exclude a 1st and the 15th paycheck, but not having a philosophy on your finances and a goal-oriented process strategically placed in front of you to achieve your goals. I don't think a lot of people have that. I know I didn't when I was 30, 28.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, what are you finding now? I mean, within Leap Systems, our membership, our club, our group of advisors, how many people do we have in the? I should know this, being on the Tri-Council, but
So we're at the highest we've been prior to even me taking it. We're at 13, like 1,320.
1,320. So take us back, if you would, to the early days of Robert Castellone. And I can tell you personal stories, but this is for you today. So your understanding of Robert Castellone, the developer, the founder of Leap Systems, the PS&G model,
Right.
and its iterations of where we are today. Can you give us a quick 5 minutes of this system?
Sure. So from what I can remember and picking up when I took over as president, I think like he had the philosophy, and everybody said you would go to, and I'm sure Kenny, when you started, like everything was worksheets, paper, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
The blue, black, red
the
pens,
you use,
the green
right,
pens.
yeah, blue, and right, yep. And when I was going through it, like they would sit you down, and I was a client, like, all right, now we're gonna write red here, and I like, you don't like red once you find out real quick, right? Everything was done for a reason.
So red on a balance sheet, as most of us know, what is red? Tax or
Yeah.
losses, right?
Losses.
Debt.
Losing money. And if you're in the black, that's a good day. And Bob was using green and blue back then.
Mm-hmm.
I like what you just said, though. You said everything is done for a reason.
Everything.
Right?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
So those reasons.
Right, like the whole way that the model is. So your house, like a roof, like the way the whole model is the roof. Like, the bottom you've got investments, and like you were saying, my son's the same way. By the way, Shorty. Can I call you Shorty on
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
I like
absolutely.
that. I'm going to call you every name on
Just
here,
not
just
Shanny.
to be different.
not Shanny.
No, I'm going to go Shannon. Got Shorty. I'll come up with something else, like Shifty,
Okay.
something like that.
Wes, we call Mr. Miyagi. I don't know why he got that.
Miyagi Do.
Miyagi Do.
He's going to have
Do
a
your,
wax on, wax off.
Yeah,
piece
do
in
your
this.
your
I like
trademark.
this one better though.
West Point.
West Point.
I just thought of that.
Jacob, do me a favor. Even though I've got the computer down here, can you go to www.leapcp.com? And then while Dave's talking, I want everyone to see first, while you're chatting, this model we're talking about, and the purpose of this model. We want to get into that now. You guys, I want you to be able to chime in at different levels of your career. How important this model, I mean, it was brilliant what Bob came up with. And I got stories for you about going to Mecca. Bob Mecca down in New Orleans years ago. It's pretty wild. But so what you're seeing on the screen here is the LEAP model, and it's up behind us here as we're chatting. Dave.
Can I
go ahead.
highlight something real quick?
Yeah, please.
So, to the point, back to your point of everything's done for a reason, and for the viewers who are watching this, like we have a very specific, and Kenny's going to talk about it, but when you look at this model right here, there's a very specific process we take. And everything that on the producer side or the advisor side being done for a reason, it's also done, you're also as a consumer doing specific things for a reason as well, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
So give us some of that history again.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we
so
keep
I'm
cutting you off. Sorry.
No. We're good. It's all good. Right. So, the protection up top, it's like the umbrella or the roof. I've seen like a bunch of different ways you can interpret it, but like how I look at it's a roof. Then you got the most common stuff is the savings below, right? So then you go, okay, well, you got your checking savings and, S9, as we call it, like where you put your qualified money, 401k.
Qualified money, 401k.
401k,
IRAs,
403b, like what most people do, and that's it.
TSP for civil service and military veterans through a savings
Right.
plan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then down below, really below that, then you've got other things. Maybe you've got like, I want to come up with an investment account, Fidelity account, put money in. I want to invest in the market. Like you want to do that. Maybe you got that, and then your house. So most people, if they're lucky enough nowadays,
Yeah.
to buy a house, own it, and can afford, then they have the real estate, and that's really it. But from top down, let's say if you have a house and you're not properly protected or something, then you could lose your house, right? We all hear it. You can get sued. Someone falls on your lawn. You don't have the proper protection, or you hit someone. So you definitely have to have protection before anything, and that's the reason behind the whole
It's
model.
not sexy.
No.
No,
right?
it is not. It's not the fun
Right.
stuff.
I do like the analogy of the house, of the protection being the roof, because as a young person, like starting my young investment career, I look at protection, and you take a younger generation of looking over all the things that can protect their investments as they grow, and really looking at the bottom quadrant of growth. Like my 401k is going to be 99% stock market. That's your foundation of your house when you're younger. So I really like that analogy of let the roof.
But when you
protect
go
your
to
foundation.
Sophia and you say, hey, honey, look, we're going to spend a lot of time focusing on our car insurance, our renters, our homeowners. We're going to have this liability. And this is so much fun. Can't you just envision the beauty of what it is to protect our assets? And she, what?
Huh?
What asset? What?
Yeah.
What are you talking
What
about?
asset?
We're just starting out.
No
Yeah.
way.
But from the house concept, Dave, you can't build a house without starting with the foundation.
That's exactly what I was
With the
getting to.
footers, with the beams, and I'm going to try to sound like a contractor. Don't have me build anything physically for you, but when it comes to this model, I'm an expert.
Yep.
I got the confidence to be able to do it day in and day out. And Jake, we lost our video behind us. Is that on purpose or what happened here? Okay, it's still up. Good, just leave it up.
Yeah, I like the old analogy that that Bob did in the videos, the castle.
Castle.
Yep.
Protection is the moat,
Right.
right? You got to protect the castle first, protect the home front.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, and Bob used to say he'd do this from stage, is that if you think about, and I think he did this in one of his MDRT speeches, that when you think about the castle, Wes, a castle without a moat, without a gate, and I'm going to go off a little bit and say Kenneth Porter and Company, one of the pride portions of me putting my name on the door and what Porter means to me and what Porter meant culturally, is that we were gatekeepers in Irish culture, or we were janitors. It was a working class surname. We weren't. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a chivalrous name. What is the Queen's last name? Do anybody know? The Queen of England.
Yeah.
You guys don't know the Queen's last?
Just call her the Queen.
Queen Elizabeth.
Queen.
Yeah, the Queen.
Well, what
right.
is-
Yeah.
So we
Edward.
we weren't born into the monarchy, right? We were servants to the monarch. We're servants to our
Servants,
clients. We serve in a chivalrous way where we're the gatekeeper. We're wanting to make sure that the moat and that the castle was protected. And Bob would say, mowing down the trees so that you could see your enemies approaching from all directions. Building your castle on top of a hill where, you might can put up some pictures.
There it is. Windsor.
There you go. Thanks, Jake. He's always making sure that we're fact checking here.
There you go.
Yeah.
That when you look at any great castle, it's up on a hill. You can see it.
Elevated.
It's
Yep.
elevated. It's got from a position of authority. It can see its enemies approaching.
Yep.
That's a
You mow the
military
trees
tactic,
back.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Right. Then you build these fortified walls. But then there's a gate. And if you want to get through that gate and get over that moat, that porter has to help you get through to the king. And if the porter screws up and lets the wrong person in, there's some hell to it. Heads are flying, as they would say.
Yeah.
Heads are
Heads
rolling.
are
Heads are
Rolling.
rolling.
Heads are rolling.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Heads are rolling. I can mess up a good quote.
Into the moat.
But that's the protection component of the financial model, of the PS&G model. Protection. So when you came into this, Dave,
Yeah.
as the president, you're now approaching this system that's what we're talking about right now is a lot about concept. Now you're bringing science. You're bringing technology. You're bringing the numbers to the wordsmithing.
Right.
Right?
That's all it should be. Like, I know that's the fine line. I guess it's the game that we have to, I don't say call it a game, but it definitely is a
game board.
challenge. It's a game. It's definitely a challenge. The challenge is, how do we keep it simple? Me being a client and my wife, who she likes numbers, she understands money, but her background's nursing. So just, right, it's not programming.
Don't overwhelm the consumer.
Absolutely, and I can always look at times when I'm trying to explain something to her, I see, and I like just watch her, and if I see the eyes start glossing over, then you lost her. So like she's my litmus test. So a lot of times, like in LEAP, there might be a concept. How do we make it? We don't get in the weeds too much. That you can't use it. Some people might geek out and they really like it, but most people, it's not going to help. But it's easy enough that there's just enough there that lets you communicate something easy, and the client can get it and go, yes, okay, now I know, I understand that approach to help us out.
Yeah. The LEAP system I found, Dave, helped me personally verify that the recommendations that I'm going to share with a prospect
Right.
and or hopefully becomes a client, that I'm going to be able to share verifiably how making a change in their plan affects them not only today, but then can verify that into their future them.
Correct. Yep.
The LEAP systems I've found, and Wes and I, when I brought Wes on, we've got other plug-and-play systems that we have to have in from a compliance point of view, from when you're messing around with people's money as it relates to securities and investments. There's other tools that kind of have to play into the LEAP system.
Absolutely.
So this, in and of itself, the LEAP system should be there, number one, in my mind's eye, to help the advisor verify that the recommendations they're going to make to the client are valid.
Correct.
And I personally have never found a system that does that better than LEAP.
No, when I became president of LEAP, I didn't even know what LEAP was foundationally. Like I knew it was like some system and whatever. And then when I looked at it, because I've gone through it, and I think I told her last time, I've been doing that manually. I haven't found another system out there. I work with multiple investment guys, and it would be like, oh, look, and here's a couple of account values you have, and here's a little rate of return average. And you go, okay, but what about my son's college? And should I have more? I have term insurance. I'm in it this year. Should I have more? And they never had a tool that showed everything. And so there I am, because this is how I was at the time. I had my own spreadsheet, and I had here's our investments up here. If we have own name insurance, it's here.
Yeah.
I had a tab for my son, had a tab for my daughter, and I was like, that was my dilemma. I was like, this is great, and I like working with this one guy, but like I have to do all this myself.
And I think what you're coming
You know what
back
I mean?
to is maximization. That when I think about the LEAP system, it allows me, and you guys chime in on this, and Shorty, as a person sitting there on the couch today in an advisor role, you were one of my clients. But what I was able to show through some coaching, and to me, I think sometimes, that Wes is also our chief compliance officer, right? So, wordsmithing, right, how you say something, what you title yourself as. But I look at us sometimes as financial coaches. Sometimes we're playing financial therapist. And so we're helping these consumers, we're helping these human beings understand how to move from where they are to where they want to be. And Shannon, I can think back to our early conversations, is that in a discovery process, when they complete the financial questionnaire that shows up in this model and their numbers show up, it's just numbers on a piece of paper. How do we make that come alive for a consumer? Comes down to the art, the mastery of asking questions.
Well, and our ability to better a consumer's present position with zero out-of-pocket costs.
Yeah.
Which is something we talk about a lot.
So the 4 objectives.
Yep.
There's what Shorty's referring to is in the LEAP systems, every advisor that you're going to work with in the LEAP system, number 1, he should have 4 objectives.
Right.
Number 1, how do we take you from where you are today and without creating additional out-of-pocket cost, can we show you how to improve your hypothetical wealth goal? Now, why did I put hypothetical in there? Anybody that's going to tell you what your future money is going to be, run. They're lying. Because we don't have a crystal ball to know. We can only go back in history and take a sampling of what's happened in the past to give you an idea of what may happen in the future. Past performance is not indicative of future results.
Yeah.
That's right.
Here's a compliance. Asterisk.
See disclosures.
But again, the LEAP system says, hey, in an ideal world, here's 4 objectives. Wouldn't we all want to be in an ideal world? Ideally, we would want our maximum based on our relative wealth, on our ability to earn income. It doesn't matter if you make $30,000 a year or, I got a client right now that has a great problem, right? He's got an estate tax problem. Wouldn't it be awesome, gents, to say every client has an estate tax problem that you got to solve?
What does that mean, though?
What does what mean?
For the people watching?
Are you mirroring me right now?
Yeah, what does it mean? Why is that a great problem?
It's a great problem, Shorty, in the sense that if you got more money than you know what to do with, wouldn't that be great to figure out what to do with your money? Like, think about the Bezos of the world, the Gates of the world, the Buffetts of the world. Those dudes have more money, and my mom used to say, more money than Carter has pills. I don't know what that means. Meemaw, she had full of sayings.
Oh, yeah.
Tighter than Dick's headband. What the hell is that? What?
Who's Dick?
I don't know.
Okay.
And they'd say, you got a dick for?
What's a dick for?
I wasn't going to say.
Okay, we went downhill quick. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
Bringing it back.
Bringing it back, that the beauty of this business is that you can show someone, yes, you have some estate taxes that you got to pay. Now you get to ask them, how do you want to solve? Want, not need. And the LEAP system, the LEAP model, helps you focus on those wants versus the needs. And it doesn't matter if you're a young man starting out and you're working on your protection and internal design. When you ask a young man like Isaiah, what do you want for your family? In an ideal world, if you weren't here, if God forbid something horrible happened to you, would you still want your family to have the opportunity for success that they would have found with you being here with them? And if that's what you want, in an ideal world, if I can create an environment without additional out-of-pocket costs, show you how to have the maximum protection in your car, your homeowners, your liability, all the way down to your life insurance. If we can have that without changing your lifestyle today, Isaiah, how much do you want?
The max I can get.
All you can get.
And also, so when you talk about the gentleman and his wife who have an estate tax problem. And then we roll that back a little bit to somebody who doesn't have that. Like me 10 years ago, going through the LEAP process. From what I remember, KP, within 2 meetings, by implementing the strategies that you did with me, I cleared up, I think it was like $1,300 a month in excess cash flow.
$1,300 a month in free cash flow.
In free cash flow. So that's what, 13,000, 15 plus a year?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the
So 1,000's 12,000, 36, 15,600.
15,600.
that's
I'm just one example.
And everything's relative too. You like
Yeah.
a lot of people might go, well, that's not much. Well, everything's relative. Like if you're making whatever,
You were at the time
That's
at
all-
E6, E7,
10
and
years
then
ago? Oh, man, I don't know. Maybe an E6. That might have been a cheap. I don't know.
that's the real beauty of the LEAP system, though. It helps the macro manager meet the client's micro needs in all areas.
Yeah.
that I like that.
say that
That's
again.
exactly. Say it again.
The LEAP system helps the financial planner, the macro manager, meet the client's micro needs.
I love that.
That is, yep.
A macro manager. So you're looking at it from the aspect of being in the room. In an ideal world, you'd have all your advisors in the room. Wouldn't you? How many people have ever had their car insurance agent in the room? Nobody's probably even never met their car insurance agent.
Yeah.
It's a 1-800,
Call center.
Like,
There you go.
Yeah.
And then, Wes, we bring that back to the investment world. I mean, when you came into our firm, you weren't a LEAP advisor.
No, not at all.
So give the aspect to Dave, new guy coming in.
Yeah, so Dave, I've started in the industry in 2000 and manage, all walks of life. And on the equity side, on the advisor side, on the investment management, whatever you want to call it, those advisors, they're only focused on managing assets under management. What do you have that's portable? Like your 401k, taxable accounts, Roths, things like that. And so if your advisor, your financial professional is only focused on that one area, and then you take a look at the LEAP model, there's 27 drawers.
Yeah,
Having
it's
so
good.
much focus on one drawer, that protection, your castle is going to get overrun.
So, there's this one big player out there in the marketplace right now, Dave, that does a lot of advertising about poo-pooing the transfer of risk. Transfer of risk using life insurance, annuities, conservative vehicles that are castle protectors.
Yep.
When Wes interviewed with me, and I needed a wealth manager. I hate managing money.
Right.
I don't want to do that. So if I don't want something, what should I do? If I don't want to wash my car, what should I do?
Go get someone to wash your car.
Let's
Outsource.
find someone else to do what I don't want to do.
Right.
You're fulfilling your current need.
Fulfilling the current need with,
There you go.
Wes, help me with what I want, not what I don't want. What I want is my clients to be taken care of in their growth components of the model down there in those blue drawers. Or as Al Dickens, one of our national trainers, will say, if we're looking at the model here, there's offense and there's defense. The offense is those 9 purple boxes you see on the screen, and then those first 6 orange boxes
Correct.
of your checking, your savings, the conservative side of the business. And then down below is tax deferred, tax free, tax deductible, your qualified plans, Roth IRAs, non-qualified accounts, and then into the fun, sexy place, I like to call it, the stocks, the bonds, where Wes lives.
Yeah.
Wes, Mr. Sexy over there.
He should have. He should have been in the blue.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah. We could have put him in like
Aloha shirt.
yeah.
There we
Oh,
go.
great. We're going to have purple,
Here we go.
orange, and blue shirts now.
Here we go.
Bring the purple shirt in.
But so many people want to focus where Wes is at
Right.
in the growth component.
Well, it's
And
sexy.
it is.
It's like the fun part.
And it's also
Right.
where a lot of people have a lot of their wealth. But, you talk about diversification. It's not just stocks, bonds, cash, mutual funds, things like that. You need to look at financial instrument diversification. So not just the equities, you have whole life, you have annuities, you have CDs, you have a plethora of different investments, of different diversification pieces out there. But again, I was on this side of the fence where let's just work on the money management.
So when I interviewed you, brought you in, I'm just to be a fly on the wall at your house when you go home and tell Ashley, hey, I just met with a whack job today. He's telling me that we should consider more safe and secure assets in our overall wealth management to balance the castle, to have protection as a focus versus putting all the risk. And what's your statement that you talk about risk? What's the stock market?
Oh, so the stock market, right? It's the acceptance of risk. Your job is to navigate that weather, that storm, whether you're with an advisor or doing it yourself. And then the other side of the spectrum is insurance. What's the definition of insurance? Transference of risk.
Yeah.
So when you're in the accumulating phase, more than likely, you want to accept that risk because you're still working, you're still saving. But our key target audience that we're working with, the pre-retirees and retirees, they have to change that mindset. That transition has to happen from, maybe I need less risk. I need to transfer this risk so I can increase the odds of having that retirement income.
And the beauty of this financial model that I love, being a guy 27 years ago, starting in an early position of my career, like Isaiah starting as an early advisor in the career of a financial professional. Well, you probably don't have multi-million-dollar clients. You're typically working with someone within 7 years of your age is what ends up happening naturally.
Right.
And so now you're dealing with young people who are just starting out their career. And those young people need to make sure that they protect the future castle and the future assets, the future income. And most young people, the last thing they want to think about is something that's 30 years away from them. Right? Well, I was guilty, right? Remember the drum, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But the model helps you give the example of what it looks like to be 30-year-old Isaiah.
Yeah.
If I had that back then, I was like, you were able to show me, I was like, yeah, I want that. Like, I'm conservative by nature, so like I'm kind of the opposite, because I thought I knew what I was doing 2000 when I was at a startup, and we're doing great, not 2001, and not 2008, and not oil stocks at the end of 2015, 16 when they tanked, right? So like, it's not like, where you talk, we're going to show you 1973 to kids now. Like, even my daughter, I do this to my daughter and son now. They're 27, 23. I'm like, Keelan, let me show you what happened in 1973. She's like, were you even born then? So it's like, but the pain point, but she was here in 2000, and she like kind of witnessed hearing things in 2014. And so like, it's more relatable to kind of go, okay, well, like you said, Wes, they like the money, it's sexy, but people don't like it where, and I took this from Ben Rovey, used the term, where every time we meet someone, they go, what's your risk tolerance? He goes, I call it, what's your pain tolerance? I go,
That's good.
pain, what do you mean?
Ben,
pain?
I'm still in that.
How much pain do you, right? Like, how much pain until you're like, when they say like, my wife actually, something happened, and she was having like a kidney stone. And I bring her into the hospital. They always go, what's your pain level at? And for us, we'd be like,
are you
50.
smiley face?
Yeah, you're right. You smile like 1 to 10. I'm like 50. Women are just like, it's my 50 is her. But she was like a 9, and I'm like 9. Like,
that's red alert right there.
Yeah, it was a red alert, big time. I was like worried, but it's like same thing with you're like, you think you want risk. You're like, oh really? And then you go, what if you're at this and then tomorrow it's at this, it lost that? Are you okay with that? You'd be like, no.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's, okay, now we're getting somewhere. So I always like understood it, and now the older I get and working with people, in your profession that are able to communicate it well and easy. It's like simple stories, simple things like, I don't want to quick it off topic. Have you guys heard the Budweiser, have you used the Budweiser beer truck story?
No, I will today though. What?
Yeah, let's hear
Did I
it.
ever hear it?
No.
Oh, easiest thing, communicating. So first sleep guy I worked with, got Pat Ross, old Guardian guy. He was like master, like you, going through the why, and like people don't know they have problems. And when you go through the model, you just ask the questions. They figure it out pretty quick, right? So we were going through it, and he said, okay, well, I see you have $500,000 in my life insurance. For me, it was like 10-year term, life insurance, whatever. Because, it's just the rubber stamp. Here, $500,000. And, you don't know what you need. Don't know how much I make. It's just kind of like, yeah. How much, per year? Okay, that's it. So he's sitting, he said, okay, well, I'm there with my wife, Carol. You go, okay, well, I see, you're worth him. He goes, okay, well, $500,000 he's worth. Okay, great. And I was like, 35, whatever. We just had 2 kids, so. Okay, so he goes, all right, Carolyn. So I'm just sitting there. He goes, all right, David, let me just talk to Carolyn for a second. Carolyn, David's driving to work tomorrow. 35. You're going to work another, 20 years? I'm like, 30 years, yeah, right? Okay, you're driving to work tomorrow, and you turn the corner, and there's the Budweiser beer truck comes, and it like destroys your car. And David's in it, unfortunately. Budweiser beer truck gives you a check for $500,000.
She's going through the yearbook now, like, who was that other guy?
Yeah, what was that?
No, I'm kidding. Terrible.
Who was the taller guy with hair? Kenny Porter. Don't look him up. So I go.
He's a jarhead. They eat their firstborn, don't know.
And crayons.
Yeah, right.
And crayons. Anyways, I'm sorry.
It's a good. Because Crayola, the 64 pack. Does he eat all the 64?
Is it right?
Yeah.
And he says, all right, so he goes, give you $500,000. You okay with that? Is your husband, is David worth $500,000? No.
Worth more than that.
Is he worth more than $500,000 to you?
Did I get a case
Absolutely.
of Budweiser out of that?
A little, not Budweiser. Not after Mulvaney.
Do you want to keep some Budweiser?
I switched to Coors Light, yeah, but she's like, no. Is he worth more than that to you? A lot more. And it was just like, it was okay, and it wasn't like it didn't bust on us. It's a Budweiser beer truck. So people where you go, insurance. Okay, but if this were to happen to you, so it's like the plane. Hey, we got an 80% chance we're gonna make it to the airport when you're taking off on a plane. You can get on it. Same thing with insurance. Are you okay? Yeah. Only have $500,000. You're gonna risk it. God forbid something should happen, or no? My wife was like, no. He was like, how much would you like? And the answer, like you said,
All of it.
all of it.
How much can I get?
How much can I get
Yep.
if it's money's not an option? Yeah. And all right, we're going to work. We know the number we're going to go for. Yeah. How we get there, and that's what I loved about the Leap experience. It was just we never even.
I like to ask the question when we're talking through the protection component with our prospect and clients, and no one wants to buy. I've never, ever in my career had someone walk into my office and go, I want to buy some life insurance. It's never happened. I don't know if that's happened with you guys, and I don't know if you've heard of anyone who just walks in and goes, I want to, maybe Hutch. Maybe it happens with Hutch because of his marketing, but
All right.
for us and the clients that we see who are retirees, business owners, they're typically approaching life with, well, my past advisor told me I didn't need any. Right?
Yeah.
I can self-insure.
I can self-insure.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That means 100 different things to 100 different people.
Right.
Know?
It sounds good though.
Right. It sounds because that's what they've been taught.
Right.
Yep.
I'm self-insured.
Which goes back to one of the things we learned early days of Leap Systems is misinformation, and the misinformation that the media puts out. And the media being sometimes we're part of the media as advisors because we're telling our prospects, not in a intended malicious way, but we're providing misinformation.
Right.
Because we've been taught the misinformation. We've had the head trash. And no one has ever challenged us outside of the client relationship to verify our numbers. Mm-hmm. That's one thing I love about the Leap Systems. And you coming on board now, bringing this back to an hour ago from the technology side.
Right.
You have brought, outside of the model that we use, you now have brought to the table the ability to show those people who are more than Pictionary. They want to see the math.
Right.
They want to see the numbers. They want to see the spreadsheets. And Dave, you have done a tremendous job, in my opinion, of bringing together the way to take math in a storytelling method where we can efficiently and effectively take a concept or a certain issue out of the model. Because there's, as Wes said a few minutes ago, there's 27 places that money can go. There's only 27 places money can go. And the financial model grabs it. There's 9 protection components, 9 savings, 9 growth components.
Right.
And your money can only flow in and flow out of those 27 places.
Right.
So, and there we are up
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
And those other 2 pieces up there, the cash flow and the debt. But that cash flow and debt goes in and out of the financial model.
Right. Yeah, the model, like when I, looking back at, so when I came in, there were 3 different platforms, software platforms. There was a Leap Classic that they wrote in 1995, was still running in 2018, just for the record. Then there was another product that was developed in 2005 that was more, it was trying to keep up with the Joneses, as I'll say, a competitive product. But again, it was another desktop application. And both the desktop applications, if you guys can be aware, only ran on Windows, right? Because that Windows came first.
Yep.
Windows suck.
And then
Go Steve Jobs.
It's coming.
yeah, go Steve Jobs. And then the third was the website that was started, I believe it was maybe 2014, 2015, they started the Leap. So when I came in to play, I was like assessing the technology and depending upon which training you went to. So you guys, you're all lucky before, if we had a Leap training in 2018 and you go to see someone talk, like let's say Al Dickens, he might have used the Wealth in Motion product from 2005. But if you're an old-time leaper, like a lot of these old Guardian guys,
Yes, I'm on.
right? You might have used Leap Classic or just the written stuff, and you didn't like that. So then you go to that training and you're like learning little bits, but you're not going to like really get the value of what's in that software product. So, you know, it's like the fine line. Like when I came in, I didn't understand. So I'm like finding all this out, and this one like some Leap guy reached out to me, and I took over president, and he goes, what do you see? What's the future of Leap? And I'm like, I don't even know what this guy's talking about. And I just like, no, I'm not here to invent the wheel. I'm like, I'm looking at this thing. This thing's great. This is what I've been after as a client. Where can I view everything on the model, but yet someone can kind of go and isolate and tell me what I'm doing wrong because I don't know. I think I'm okay. And this has helped clear my whole life up and my
This
family.
is a snapshot of everything you're doing.
Everything.
That's the macro picture from, let's call it 40,000 feet.
Yep.
And then when we hone in on a specific pain point
Yep.
or a specific point that needs to be analyzed, Dave, I think you have to think about it as a surgeon sometimes. If you go in and you see your primary care physician, in a lot of ways, I think what we do is like the medical profession. We're, in some instances, the general practitioner. You go in, it's your family care physician who knows everything from your crappy toenails to your follicles in your head. And that person has a scope of the big...
Or lack of.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Right. I was waiting for that. And so, you know, this primary care physician just basically has a general overall picture of your health. That's a lot like the macro manager. We have a general overall picture. We don't necessarily have a license in each one of those areas to be the expert to give you the advice, but we know where to get it and we know how it applies, and we can have general conversations that then we can go, hey, attorney, we need your help on this legal matter. Hey, accountant, we need your help in this tax matter. Hey, stockbroker, there's not many of those anymore. Hey, wealth manager, we need your help in this area to identify X, Y, and Z. Sometimes some of these other professionals don't play well in the sandbox we'll call the Leap model.
Sure.
Yep.
And
But, you know,
I'll tell you why.
Go ahead.
You're not going to have a wealth manager, investment advisor talk about car insurance. Why? not getting paid on
Didn't
it.
get
I
paid
hate
on
saying
that. He's
that.
like, get out of my office.
And that's why I like Leap, because we are actually in a partnership with these clients.
Right.
We're not just advising on one area, right?
No.
We're looking at the entire picture, and whether we can give direct advice or get that expert to come along and share the recommendations, I think that you just have better control of your financial picture and your financial future.
Well,
That-
you know what? Well, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, that brings up a question for me. So you were in the business for 27 plus years. Wes has been in the business 20 years on the investment side. And you guys have been through dot-com bubble burst, '08 housing crisis. So when you had these clients come to you when their portfolios took a hit, how would you answer the question as a leaper? How would you answer the question
That's what
as
I was gonna ask.
heavy
Wes
on the
that
That's
investment
before.
side?
a great insight,
Yeah.
Isaiah. You want to go first, Wes?
Want to shoot for it?
What do you do?
He'll rock, paper, rank you.
What do you-
Rock, paper, rank
So
you.
I'll give you a time frame. It's like 2000,
Oh.
2001.
Yeah.
It hit somebody's portfolio just took a
Yeah.
hit, and he came to you, Wes.
Yeah.
I've lost X amount of money. What's
I
going
bet
on?
I can tell you what the Wes's, the old Wes's, not the new Wes. The old Wes's would say, hey, it's for the
Long haul.
long haul.
That's
Stay invested, stay in the market.
And I would go a little bit deeper personally. It just depends on the client situation,
Yeah.
right? But again, I'm programmed to just look at the investments and not look at the entire picture. So
Right.
obviously, if they were younger, yes, there's going to be times like this. You have to stay in the market. Markets over the long haul go up. But if someone's already retired or about to retire, that's when action or change possibly needs to happen. Because, I mean, just simple math, you lose 50%, it's 100% return to get back to even. People are retiring next year or even 5 years, that can take a while to get back to even. So,
Yeah,
So
that-
even if they
from the
did.
LEAP model, the approach that I would take with that back in the day, and I lived the early part of my career, so remember 1997 is really, I was exposed to LEAP in 1995 as a young Marine who bought term insurance and was investing in a mutual fund. That's what I did in 1995. And my wife was like, we're buying how much term insurance? Right? Because it didn't. Neither one of us, as a young married couple, really thought about the future us, the 50 or the 60-year-old, and you don't start thinking about your own mortality until you really start having children,
yep.
and then you're like, oh shit, what if? And so, the young Kenny was buying term, investing the difference.
The Dave Ramsey.
Yeah, the Dave Ramsey. I don't want to promote Dave.
Yeah,
Da-
no.
There's a lot that Dave does that's
Dumb Ramsey.
great, right? But there are things where when Dave says things like everybody's going to get a 12% return,
Yeah.
it's setting people up for failure,
Misinformation.
false expectations, misinformation. The model will help prove that because there are things that you've done in the model, which, by the way, let me while I'm answering that, Dave, I'm gonna hand the machine over to you. Hold my beer for a minute.
Oh yeah, I got you.
And watch this.
Watch this.
All right, let's see it,
Might get some
Eminem.
reverb
Famous,
over there.
famous last words.
Yeah. Believe it or not, Dave was actually in the film 8 Mile.
Yeah, give me that. You're
okay.
you're not drinking that anymore. You're cut off. But in those
Better, Bob.
early days, the strategies that we would deploy were different than the strategies that would be deployed in the future. And what you've been able to bring to the table is that, when an advisor says, hey, it's for the long haul, stay in the market, we can show and verify what's the opportunity, what's the risk. We can show things like sequence of returns risk. We can show inflation risk. We can show different types of market returns on a historical basis. And the beauty is that when we look at the LEAP system, we get to see the 40,000-foot view. But then some of the things that you've done over years, and you can feel free to use whatever calculator you want to go with first. This is your baby
Yeah.
to drive.
Dealer's choice.
And just inject something there too. is
Yeah,
The LEAP system is product agnostic,
beautiful.
Right.
Love that.
to include
Yep.
all the way from insurances and down to the investment
Investments.
side.
Yep.
Because each person's different, each scenario is different. So I think what
And
Dave's-
agnostic being, for those who haven't don't have the dictionary in front of them, They don't have one financial god, right? They're
Yeah.
Indifferent.
indifferent about what financial product
Yep.
you use.
What's best for the client?
Right.
It should be.
What a novel idea, right?
Yeah.
It should be agnostic because, what I like about Leap is that, to me, it's a puzzle. Prospect comes in, everybody has different data points, and then we get to comb through that data and see what is the best approach to maximize their protection, their growth, et cetera, et cetera.
Beautiful. So, Dave, this calculator that we see on the screen now, this is one that we developed that you call the retirement pressures calculator. So, if you can, walk us through what this means and how this calculator can help a person understand their economic values.
There you go. Yeah, this is very easy. So this is to say, all right, well, let's say you retire, you've got $1 million. And you retire at 67, you want to, let's say your life horizon is 90, right? And you could say, how is the money invested in? Because as most people, I'm going to do it myself. After, my 401k, I'm going to convert it. I've got it. I'm managing it. They could say it's in large cap, which means all stocks. And maybe they prefer that because
Which would be like the S&P 500.
S&P 500 in this case is exactly what it is. We can go all the way to 97 even. And you could say, all right, well, if you're in retirement, how much are you living on every year? In this case, this is the 8%. But I guess we could even change this to say, what do we usually hear? Like, is it 4%? What is
The old 4% rule?
FOW?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Way FOW?
Yeah. Let's test the 4% method.
Yeah, we can do the 4% method. So we'll say 40,000 a year. So that's 4%, right, of $1 million. And then we could say, all right, that increases each year. We're going to have to pull money out, right, because cost of goods goes up. So we say 2% a year goes up. So in this situation, if you retire in 97, and we're using the historical rates of the S&P, what we could see here is, by doing this easily, we see that we're okay. You're pulling money out. You've got some down markets here. Everything's great.
So,
right?
Dave, if I can take you back up to the top, this great. This looks good. If I can end at 97 years old, Dave, with $3,132,400 as you're showing here,
90, yep.
I feel pretty secure that I can take $40,000 a year and you index it to inflation at 2%. But I go, oh, Dave, no. My advisor said the 100-year average on inflation was 3.1. Can we do that?
I go, yeah, we could go.
Right on the fly.
Tell you what, we could do, change this to be 3.1 then.
Okay. And
There you
boom,
go, now
there
it's
it
at.
is. All right, now
How we do?
that took my future wealth. I got about
2.7.
2.7 million.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so when I'm looking at this calculator, if you can put your cursor over things that I'm looking at so
Yep.
consumers can see, can you explain to the gang here the average return showing 10.29? What does average return mean?
So the average just takes each year's rate of return here, divide by the number of years, and that is just your average.
So that's arithmetic.
Yep.
How many years
Straight
did
up
we say?
arithmetic. I believe
20, was it 27 years?
23 years. Yeah.
about 23.
So 23 years. Are you scrolling up? Can you scroll up to the top so we can see
Oh, yeah.
back up there?
Sure. There you go.
So 67 to 90, 23 years.
I think this is actually 24 because we include 67, the year,
Okay.
the actual year. Or, no, we did. All
Yeah.
right.
So 23
23
years
years.
here we're examining.
Mm-hmm.
And you started from 1997
Yep.
and that 27-year or 23-year period thereafter.
Correct.
So this is what the S&P 500 did mathematically over that period, right?
Yeah.
So us being financial preppers started 1929.
Yep. Well, let's come back to that.
All right.
We'll come 1929. Shorty's jumping the gun on us here. Hold on, Shorty.
Hey, I know where you're going, which is a good thing.
But the consumer does not, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
storytelling.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
You want to position this in a way that they can see the math, verify the math, and then when they're ready to pick any time they want to pick, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Client, we don't have to use 97. We can use 1929. And we can do it
I was
immediately.
going to actually do something else here.
All right, let's
Another
hear
story. Before you do that. So on here, the story we tell is two guys. One guy retires, $1 million, 97, right? His other buddy enjoys what he does. Flies for American. Doesn't mind. Wife says fine, she's off doing her own things, you know. He goes, well, do I really want to retire? Kind of likes what he does. American goes, please, we're short on pilots. Okay, I'll fly for 2 more years. Right? So we just change. Person A retires in 97. Person B retires in 99. Average rate of return, 9.64. This guy's average rate of return, 10.29. About the same. Average rate of return, right?
Yeah.
But look, this guy finished with 2.7. This guy, less than $1 million.
So the timing and the sequence of that timing, that made a $2 million?
$2 million difference.
Wow.
Numbers don't lie, right? That's the math.
So what's this pilot doing now? What's the other guy doing?
Other guys,
He's fishing.
loving life.
He's
I think he
fishing.
just joined another golf club. The other guy, person A. Yeah.
So when you're dealing with consumers here and they look at that's where they start. You as a consumer, if you're watching this, you should be putting yourself in this position. The other thing that we can do on the fly here, which is beautiful,
Yep.
is that over the rate of return, there's a looks like a recycle button.
Yep.
So what we're recycling here is we're taking at the middle of this period, we're flipping the numbers.
Correct. That's a good way
So
to phrase it.
Yeah, we go to the middle period, and we just take whatever returns were at the end, and if you would, before you flip it,
Yeah, show
go
them
all
the-
the way to the end, and we'll look at the last 3 numbers: 28.71, 18.4. And I'm working from the bottom up. 18.4, 31.49. Those were the S&P returns during those years.
Yep.
The 21st, 22nd, 23rd year. And we look at the top, those years were 21.04, 9.10, 11.89. So we're finding that middle area, we're flipping these returns to understand, well, what if we just change the sequence, the timing? What does that do? Wow. This guy, it made sense for him to retire.
Same average.
Same average. And he's got 3.6 million now.
Same.
So
Yep.
what's going to happen, Dave, when you retire with the stock market? The day you retire, is it going to finish positive or negative?
Oh, it's going to be. I have no idea.
Nobody knows. Isaiah, you got 40 years left before you retire.
Wes is like, Dave knows.
know-
I want to know that.
When anybody asks me that question, what I think the stock market's going to do, I would tell them, if I knew, I wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't be here right now.
Nobody really knows, right?
Yep, no.
I've been at it for 27 years, and the market can make you a liar. You don't want to lie to your clients. That's a no-no.
No.
But now we can say in complete transparency, well, here's what we know to be true. The further I get away from where we are today, it's a more unknown. It's a larger unknown. But if I can go back and test through different periods and look at different periods to test the good, test the bad, and know what potential we have, and can my money last through those potential ups and downs, that's a beauty here. But this calculator specifically will do a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So we can. So here's the thing. So if we can even go, we can even tempt you and go 1 more year.
Mm.
So he really liked his job flying, and he waits 1 more year. And you think he's really comfortable? Is anyone really comfortable? Would you be when you're looking? You're 83 at age 83, and you have 300,000 left to live on. Right? Like it looks
Wow.
fine. At the end, you go, "Oh, I make it."
Yeah.
But how are you feeling along the way?
Oh yeah, in my mind's eye, I'm looking at my daughter now. I'm like, hey, sorry, here's $1,000 for you. Bye.
Yeah, here's a legacy, Stevie, of $1,165. Don't spend it all in one place.
And by the way, you and your brother are splitting it, so here's $500.
Right. And after tax?
And you're going to get taxed on that.
Right.
That's wild. Hey, that's a funny stopgap. Something funnier? I got to go pee.
So do I.
Let's hit the pause button,
All right.
and we're going to come back.
Pause.
Take 5.
Take 5.
All right, so a bunch of old men. We couldn't let. Isaiah, did you have to go pee too?
I did.
Okay. All right, so this is just being completely and radically transparent. What the heck do we have on the screen?
That's Dave.
Dave, are you? That is awesome. So Dave, back an hour plus ago, Dave's a drummer. This is what you do in your real love. Man, that is cool.
Yeah, that was the last gig I played with Little Sister. They were,
Little Sister Band.
Yeah, they were great. I just couldn't. I showed up. They were a little surprised. I went out. They were like, because I remember dressing and showing my wife the sides, like the real Kiss outfit. There's holes there. Like,
was your nickname Moose Knuckle?
I was to say the same thing.
Mr. Knuckles.
I was trying.
Mr.
I
Knuckles.
was avoiding that if possible. At my age.
Mr. Knuckles or Mr. Knuckle?
Did you lose a finger in a mowing accident or something?
I guess he
So
lost.
that's cut out skin showing where the circles are.
Yeah,
Okay.
I walked in the bar because you see those heels, like I'm like 5'6" on a good day, and I walked in the bar, and I was like hitting my head. I was like, wow, is this what it's like to be like Kenny? It was like
You were-
I don't know if I like being
quick,
this tall.
Jake, quit going in
You
close
weren't,
on
you
that.
weren't lying when you said 6'5". You might have been.
Dude, it was awesome. I walked in, no one even recognized me. I walked in, they were like, because it was like, you costume dress up. We had a gig, and I set all the stuff up. Then I went out to my car. The funniest thing is I parked in a parking lot at this like little Quickie Mart, and I'm sitting there and I'm putting the makeup on, and some guy comes out, takes the trash out, and he's like, gives me this dirty look. He's like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, what? It's Halloween. Go back in. Don't. And then I had to put on those tights in the car. Like, it was ridiculous. But yeah, somehow I played a set. I had to take off the shoes to play. There's no way.
You can't do the kick.
No, yeah, the
No.
kick, and I was like, looked like Frankenstein.
So
back there.
Halloween in Pennsylvania must have been
Yeah.
cold that night, huh?
Awkward
Chilling.
silence.
Yeah.
It was chilling. But yeah,
All right.
but that was it. So yeah,
We digress once again. So we're going back to this guy who was an American Airlines pilot. He hold my mic while I'm talking here. Hold my beer.
There we go. You're good.
He's thinking he wants to retire, and the timing of his retirement has a lot to do with how the stock market's doing. So he's relegated to the ups and downs of the market.
Yes.
And so what this calculator is able to show a prospect, a client, is the timing and sequence, number one, of investment returns, right?
Correct.
And the pressures that are put on investments.
Right.
And what takes pressures off of investments are those guarantees and things that are not sequenced to the market or exposed to market volatility.
Correct.
And so you've been able to develop a calculator that pulls all of those into consideration
Right.
into one story, so to speak, with
Correct.
with numbers.
So, right. So the story here would be, okay, so you go through and they go, well, great, I'm not comfortable. Are you comfortable with this, right? And you could see, like, really, when they're 75 and they lose half of their portfolio, how are they going to be feeling, right?
75 years old. That was 2008. It's being shown there, the housing crisis of 2008. And,
Correct.
Wes and I were in a meeting with a client, or I think it may have been the three of us, Shorty, Wes, and I, the other day. And this retiree who's getting ready to be a retiree, I should say. They're weeks from retiring.
Wow.
And they are acceptable when you look at their risk profile. And Wes did, we use some risk software called Riskalyze.
Yeah. I know them.
And so we're able to score their risk tolerance. And when Wes scores out their risk tolerance, their investments that are on a score of 1 being like cash, 99 is
Like Bitcoin.
Wes, they scored a what? Their investment scored what?
Yeah, investors scored like a mid-50s.
Mid-50s.
53.
And when they scored higher in their 60s, high 60s, right? And then the S&P has a score of about
75.
75.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're showing here, this is 75, right? The S&P, this
Correct.
is the S&P 500, scoring out at about a 75 right now. The thought process here is the client at first was like, well, I think I can actually take more risk. I feel like I can take more risk. That my score's not quite high enough, I think was the way they verbalized it. And we said, okay, let's take a look at your numbers. We put in their numbers, Dave. We put in the money that was exposed to investments.
Right.
We put in their guarantees like Social Securities, their pensions, AKA pension is also known as an annuity. Your Social Security is a government pension that's also known as an annuity. It's a stream of guaranteed payments.
Right.
And so when we started putting in these numbers, are you going to do that with us today? You're going to share some other numbers coming back into this this thought?
So
So
we can
finish this story for us.
Okay, so let's say most people this is all this is all they have. We can add in government income, pension, but all like what it boils down to is just going to lower the amount of money that they need to pull out of this other account at the end of the day. So let's just say they wanted to live on more than $40,000 a year, but they're using it from other sources, just for time purposes. And they go here, they say, well, I'm not comfortable with this. Because me personally, as I said before, I'm conservative by nature. I don't like this at all. And I wouldn't want this at all in retirement. But if this is all the money, if this is my situation at that point, I would ask you, Kenny, like, what other options would I...
What
are we doing here?
Yeah.
Right? And go, okay, well, let's just say, all right, Mr. and Mrs. Kleiner, I can say Shorty. I'm looking at Shorty, so I'll say Shorty. I like Shorty. I haven't come up with another name for Shorty yet, but give me another.
Short stuff.
The day's early. I'm not saying short stuff. He's taller than I am. I can't even pull that off. But let's just say, short stuff, that that you had money sitting somewhere else that's not affected by the market. So when I went over this with my son, because I went over it with my son, he's 23, he goes, Zach, where would you have money that wouldn't be in the market? And he was like, on your mattress? Sure, right? Like my dad spoke of his mother went through the Great Depression. They would keep money in all places in the house in Canada.
Burying dollar bills in the yard.
In the yard,
in the
right?
jars out back.
Yeah, don't throw out the frozen pea box.
That's right.
Frozen pea box. All right. Yeah, there was money, right? Or checking account, right? Let's just say, right? Checking account doesn't find. Or any guaranteed place. So I'll stop so I don't, no product.
Yeah.
Let's just say you had money. Go, okay, well, what do you have? Well, I don't know. Let's just say, Wes, you had, or Shorty, I keep going by, I'm going to.
West Point.
Great. West
family.
Point.
We're
West
a
Point.
family.
Let's say you had $160,000 that you had put away, or like maybe for my many gigs, dressed as Kiss drummer, I put away over my lifetime, and it just sat there, right? Go, okay, what are you going to do with that? Well, here's the strategy. What if the year after a down year, instead of compounding the problem of you're pulling money from a source, the market takes a hit on that source, and now you're pulling more money out that next year, you haven't given that source of money time to recover. So if you look at stock market, if you look at most times in the market, right, after the housing market, the thing crashed, if we go ahead and look here, we can look right here, right? We have the numbers. It went down 37%, ow. Most people, and people I've worked with, what do they do historically? They go, get out, right? Which is not what you do. But that's philosophy, like the pain point.
Yeah, the emotion says, get out.
The emotion.
This is not going to stop. I'm in hot water now.
Right. I put my foot in hot water. Do you want to?
Stop
I
the
take it
pain.
out.
Stop
the
the
pain.
pain.
Right.
Right.
But if you took the money out, you lost that next year 26% rebound. So let's say instead, like in this situation where we pulled out, we kept pulling money out each year. The year after the down market, we pull from somewhere else to let the account recover. Let's see what that would do as a strategy. Would that sound like a good strategy?
Yeah.
Now, you don't even know what the result is, but you're like, all right, let's see it, because if anything could be better than this, right? Okay. So,
And going back to that example, if you could, that 37%, plus you're taking out 4%.
Beginning of the year.
So that's
Right.
actually a
Correct.
41% that you've lost that year.
right.
Yeah.
Right, it's actually more. You're
Yep.
right.
Also inflation adjusted.
Also
And
inflation.
Because
yep,
you've got
correct.
the income now at 41,000 that was at 40 just 10 years early or 9 years earlier.
Yep. Now
Yep.
we're looking at around 50, 52.
A lot of
the following
headwinds.
year.
Yeah.
So instead of that, what we'll do is, so the way that the calculator is, we've bunch of different ways we can do it, but by looking here, saying that we know that we start off at 40,000, we have 160,000. We have at least 4 times we can pull money out and do this.
So what this calculator's saying here is that you had a jar in your backyard
Yep.
with $160,000 in it.
Yep.
And there's people out there that's going to poke hole. Why don't you have that in the market? You know, inflation adjusted, you're losing. Who cares? We have $160,000 at its current value
Yep.
in a jar in the backyard.
Right.
Now what you're saying is that is a defense strategy that can be used
Correct.
to help offset downturns in the market.
Yep.
Because right now you have this person taking money out of the market when it's at its worst.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Just so
Yep.
I'm clear.
There you go. So 67 happens. I pull out my 40 grand beginning of the year, put it in my little shoebox to live, like my dad used to do.
Yeah.
He used to give us all, every month money. My mom's got this. David, you got this on, which I never spent any of it. Yeah, got this for a big Burger King, whatever, right? Use it up. 40 grand goes down 9.1%. So if we click this little plus button here, one time, so now instead of using 40 grand out of the account, I'm going to pull it from the backyard.
And we're calling that jar the sequence defense.
Calling it a sequence
Account.
defense. Yes. Your sequence defense buffer is what we call a sequence defense buffer, but sequence
Okay.
defense. Yep. So if you notice, like if I turned it off, without doing this, we end up with $1,100, right? But if we use 40,000 or a little more than 41,240 1 year, that's actually netting us roughly over 180,000.
Wow, that changed the scenario from $1,100
Yeah.
So
Of inher-
over 180,000
legacy
1 year.
1
Doing
year.
it just once.
It's like 4.5 on your money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then
Market didn't recover.
didn't recover again, right? And so we're going to play it as we're living it, not that we're going to pick and choose when we do it, because we
Yeah.
can't do that.
Now Chapel and Stevie get $90,000.
There we go.
Right. So it's
$500.
down against. You're like, oh, great. Well, I got that money, so go back.
But now
it's
in
still
my
sitting
in my backyard, I only have 160 less 41,240. I have
20,000, call it.
120,000.
Call it right. So I go back. I still got enough.
760.
See, our good with numbers.
8765309.
It bothers me not to.
There you go.
All right.
We need to.
In the weeds. In the weeds.
Should we do it again? Boom.
Wow.
Oh. So we've pulled about 83,758 roughly from the backyard, Kenny.
Roughly.
But now
You're cheating though, because you're giving the number down at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, well. Honestly, I was doing that in my head. I wasn't even looking at that.
That's the advantages of being the programmer.
That's right.
You see? Yeah. But now you're finishing at like about 400,000. 400 you would
Just by
from
having a
1,100.
sequence buffer.
That 83,000 in the backyard actually has gotten me almost 400,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we do it again, right? So we're still living. We don't know what's going to happen. We had another down year, and this one was a really bad down year. 22% down. I wish I knew what was going on that year. I think I know, but so you go. In fact, I know what was going on because I lived it. So we go one. Let's see. I could do one more year. So now we pull again.
Wow.
So now we're at about, like we said, 127 pulled out, but we've netted. Now we're finishing over six. We're close to 700 grand now, 350 each for your kids. I think that'd be a little better. They're liking that a little more now. And there you go. So there's a situation, and also, so let's.
And just so I'm clear, the jar in the yard.
Jar in the yard.
I've taken 3 withdrawals from it, totaling about $127,594.
Yep.
So in that jar in the yard, I've got another $36,000 left in it.
And let's play it out.
Okay.
Why don't we play it out, right?
All right.
So we're doing good, and you're like, oh, this is great. I haven't need to go in the backyard, right? So it's been sitting back there, and then we get the whammy year, and I'm like, oh, I really don't want to pull out again. Oh, I don't need to, so I'll go backyard, and I only have 32,000 to pull out.
Interesting.
So I still have to take 20 out, but I wasn't taking all 52 out.
Right.
I mean, you turned 1,100 into 866.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing now is that at the end of your life, and we said, okay, you made it out to 89. Now we've given you the opportunity just by teaching you that strategy. By the way, what product did we just sell the client?
A jar in the backyard.
Jar head in
A
the
jar in
yard.
the backyard.
Jar in the backyard.
This inflationary jar that's got $160,000 in it that never kept pace with inflation. It just sat there like an orange.
Right.
And as Bob used to say, an orange 20 years from now, what is it sitting on the table? $1 20 years from now sitting on the table, what is it? The value of whatever that dollar can bring to you.
Right.
And so what you're able to show the client here with this calculator, Dave, is that, hey, in the 10th year, that jar, we went through every dollar we could take from it, but having just that component of a defense buffer.
Correct.
And
Just
that thought process, in and of itself, a non-market exposed asset that you can draw down from, that gives you the permission to stay in the market. And for this person, Dave, can we just take this time and it would just be fun to do this?
Yeah.
Go back up, and you got them at 90 years old.
Yep.
Can we get them out to 95?
Let's see if our historical it should.
I mean, it's crazy that the 100 and
You have to
move
change
that like
that's
one
good.
year,
Move it back. Move it 5 years.
that 160,000 though.
There you go.
Really.
Holy. All right, Izzy, I don't mean to cut you off.
You're fine.
Holy cow. Changing that time period. That's an $8 million difference.
So we extended
But you went back. You expanded it 5
We're
years.
still spending 5 more years.
Still, yeah.
But we just moved them back 5 years. That's all we did. And then then this is with the defense buffer.
Yeah.
So it's 8.5.
So the guy had $7 million,
Finishes
but we
with
still, with the same philosophy, same strategy,
Same strategy.
Got him another mil.
we're adding another $1 million to their bottom line and creating additional safety.
And we haven't even taken into account Social Security.
No Social Security, no
nothing.
pensions.
Yeah, I was about to say on the last slide, 1999, that 160,000 really turned into 865,000 because of that $1,100.
So the
Yeah,
question
would that
becomes
be like
then,
rate of return of that you're getting over time? Just
if Shannon was your client here, Shannon, which person would you like to be?
This guy.
The person with no sequence buffer.
The guy with the sequence buffer.
Do you? And
that
so
guy.
now, Mr. and Mrs. Client, do you have a sequence buffer? Would you like one? And would you like us to figure out where you have the ability to create one with what you have already? And so that's where the value comes in with the LEAP system.
Yep.
It's not, hey, let me sell you another product. It's let me provide value to teach you a methodology
Let's find your jar in the yard.
Right. Where's your proverbial jar? How do we create that without creating additional risk, without creating additional out-of-pocket cost,
Right.
and by protecting against the eroding factors of sequence of returns risk, which you just illustrated, the market volatility, planned obsolescence, technological change, premature death, any of those things that can erode the wealth for whatever legacy you have, whether it be for your children or for your charity, your church. No one wants to end broke. I've never met anyone who says, hey, we joke about, I want to bounce the last check, then die.
I've heard that too from a leap guy. The last check you write, you want to bounce. That's what you want to do. I'm like,
And this is something we've talked about before, integrating the LEAP systems into financial plans. And I've said this to you before, products without a plan can cause pain, but products with the plan can bring joy and bring fulfillment into your retirement.
Yeah.
And from the equity side, what I see with this, if it's just all in the market, who's got control? Stock market.
Yeah.
With the sequence of defense strategy, you're actually in more control. You're controlling the risk.
Yeah. And so from a risk profile, Wes, knowing that they have a defense buffer in place can help justify for you as a wealth advisor to tell the client to stay the course.
Yep.
Is that what I'm hearing?
That's
If we know that we have a place to pull from, can you now? It doesn't mean you have to, but then we could start playing the what ifs. Well, what if you did go to cash? What if you did take your money out of the market?
Yep.
What opportunities are you missing? So what gives you the opportunity, historically speaking, to stay an investor?
And like this strategy, going back to your doctor analogy, it's like a pain reliever.
Yeah.
Right. You've had huge pain, that 37% down, but you know what? You have a strategy. You have risk control. Let's get rid of that pain for that year.
Yeah.
Now, Dave, I guess the question then becomes, if I've got this buffer, and it is just a jar in the yard, and I'm not getting a yield on it.
Nothing.
Well, what if I can get a yield on it?
How about if it could be even more than that?
Right.
It can yield, and what if you don't? Because the other question would be, what if you don't? What if there's never a down market in retirement too, right?
Yeah.
Then what do I do with that money? I'm just losing it. What if you don't have to?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we're in now it's even well, how can I do that, Kenny?
Right.
That's what I want. I'd love to have something there in case I need it, but what if I don't need it? Then it's going to be a waste of money. Well, no.
Which comes back to the process of wealth creation versus the product. The jar in the yard is the product.
Right.
Right. The solution was this jar in the yard doesn't earn any rate of return. It's completely exposed to inflation. Right. It's losing value every day it's buried in the yard, but it still helped this person buffer.
Yeah.
Market volatility. That's pretty amazing. Great job with the software.
Thanks.
And this, by the way, does much more than what we even illustrated today.
Yeah. I know.
Because we now have to, as professionals, we have to take into consideration all the income sources.
Correct.
There's the potential for government income. Right? I always like to say, as long as the wheels stay on the Republic bus, we'll get from where we are to where we want to be in that bus called Social Security.
Yeah.
Now, will it change? Yes. What's it going to change to? I don't know. But we can model change. We can model reductions.
Yep.
So then there's other places. Well, what if you have a pension? Is the pension indexed to inflation or is it not? Do you have survivor benefit on the pension?
Right.
Do you have annuities? Is the annuity providing income? What's the fees in your annuities? What's the fees on your investment portfolio?
Yep.
Which, bring up the other one. I always like to use the versatile calculator.
Yeah, I know. You and Ben.
I love
He
the versatile
swears by
calculator.
it. Loves it.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, I even have it saved right there.
I know. Very good. That's good.
So take that same $1 million,
Yep.
and let's say we've got a.
How old are you?
We can use
67,
the
Ben?
same person.
All right.
We can take them to 90. They got 23 years.
All right. Historical rates, right?
And they're in the stock market, and they're like, I love my Fisher account. We'll pick on Fisher for a minute. Wes, the average portfolio that you see with Fisher, what's the fees on that account?
1.15.
Okay.
Around there.
So let's say they got a Fisher investment account. The great thing is that we can give full disclosure to our client. Well, what's your investment advisor costing you? And let's say, Dave, you put in 1.5. Wes said 1.15.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
And here's
Okay.
the great thing you do with your client. If you
Sorry, Shorty. Shorty was telling me that.
if you put
like-
in the wrong number, your client's going to see it.
Yep. And that's where that working partnership hand in
Yeah.
hand, you're building the plan together.
Let's do it together.
Yep.
Dave,
The other,
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
The other thing about the fee, so it's 1.15. That's just for the management fee.
Right.
So if they're using mutual funds, ETFs underneath, you have all those expense ratios too.
Yep.
So,
So we can build. What would that look like, Wes? On average,
let's use like 20 basis points, just to be conservative.
we're,
So put
we're being
1.
really nice. We had a client yesterday. The expense ratios in their
0.97 all
401k
the way up to like 1.49.
What?
without the
wow.
advisor, just the expense
Oh,
ratio.
I believe it.
It was nuts.
So,
So,
so
1.35.
make it 1.3.
Just
And then, by the
rough
way, I have a
estimate.
question for you.
Mhm.
Are we paying from the account?
Yes.
Because
That's important.
that is very important.
Yeah.
Okay. So
But we can show it both ways. Great. And we're going into taxes. Who's paying the taxes?
Yep.
All right, so let's go through the investment fees first.
Yeah.
So we got an average return of 9.64, and if you can highlight over that, Dave.
Yep.
So this $1 million, we're looking at this period from what year were we using?
I used the
The same period we used in the previous 1999.
Scott.
So from 1999 to 23 years after that, so that takes us out to what?
2022.
2022. This 23-year period, the S&P 500 mathematically, or arithmetically, averaged 9.64%. Now, do me a favor, Dave. We put in Wes's fees of 1.35%.
Yeah.
Let's take that out and look at the net return just for a second. So, the net return on this portfolio did 8.09. So let's take $1 million over that period of time, grew to $5,978,822. And if you can highlight that for me,
Yep.
while people at home are looking at this, and if you can do it up at net result, up top.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So $1 million turned in almost $6 million. But now you've hired your advisor. You don't want to do it yourself. And complete transparency, here's the cost of your advisor. And we said 1.35. So 5.9, paying it out of the account, reduces the account down to 4.3 million. So
1.6 million.
the opportunity cost, if you can scroll down on the page here, Dave,
Yeah.
all the way to the bottom, over this 23-year period, you paid your advisor $454,000. But we remember the number was 5.9, and we know the net result now is 4.3. What happened here?
They lost the compounding interest from their
Bingo.
They paid their advisor.
Mm-hmm.
Each year they lost the opportunity. That's what we refer to in LEAP as a lost opportunity cost. So they lost the opportunity for those fees to earn a return in their account and keep it. It's in their advisor's account. So we could argue the advisor made $1.6 million if he didn't spend any of it, and the client made $4.3. You gave away a third of your wealth to your advisor in full disclosure. Now, I'm arguing against my business right now. I'm arguing against what we do. This is where I come back to with clients. Anything that's in the absence of value is what? Anything that you do in life that has no value, it's expensive. Anything in the absence of value. Was this valuable to you? Was it valuable for you to get 4.3? When you could have had 5.9 if you didn't have to pay all the fees. What if we could reduce the fees? So those can be some things we can look at. If you're paying 1.35 and we're going in, well, what if we could do 0.65? Still a cost. We got 5.1 million now versus 4.9. But those are things where you can now have a conversation with your advisor and say, look, I'm seeing an opportunity cost here. They're going to be, what's an opportunity cost? Most advisors haven't been taught about lost opportunity costs. Right, Dave? I mean,
no.
Wes, you came from the equity side. When I started talking to you about lost opportunity costs, did you go home to Ashley and be like, this dude, I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Speaking a foreign language.
Right.
Yeah.
But then when we started verifying the numbers, it turned you into a believer or were you still agnostic?
Oh, made me a believer. I mean, it's when you're on the other side of the house, just the equity side, you're just focused on just the investments. I mean, and your goal is to bring in more assets.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. Whereas there's so much else out there if you open your mind. Because, for example, like annuities, like Fisher has this guide.
Yeah.
12 reasons why annuities are terrible or something like that. Right? It's misinformation because annuities, I was taught to say, annuities, they're expensive, they lock up your money. Right?
Yeah.
But if you actually do your research, stocks, they're not for everyone. They're for the right situation. Same thing with annuities. They're for the right situation, but not for everyone. So I think that's where LEAP lets us get into the details, figure out that client's puzzle, and actually use the process over the products to solve what they need.
And I love what you say, Wes. You talk about the one big thing. What's the one big thing? Help us understand. What do you mean by
OBT, the one big thing, I used to work at Personal Capital, bought by Empower. And so the one big thing that we always wanted to stress on the call, because whenever you're talking to a client, right, there's 10, 20 things they want solved. But if you try to solve each one at one time, you're just going to get lost in the minutia, right?
Right.
So if we can distill all what they want and show value that we listen to what is that one thing they need to solve that will take care of everything else, it lets the client really understand that we are listening to them and that we have a plan to solve. And most people, it's that, how can I be confident that I'm going to have enough money?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
How can I have that $100,000 a year in retirement? And that will solve all the other problems. But if you're looking at all these 20 other things they want solved, they're just going to get lost. But again, focus on that one thing. The one thing they really want is confidence
And
that
yeah,
they can retire.
after sitting in multiple meetings too, I love how you bring that up because every time a client starts talking and they talk about all sorts of other problems they may have, it always leads back to their one big problem.
Yeah.
They'll say, I have this, and this problem, but this.
Yeah.
This is this problem, but this. And they'll always go back to that one problem that's always getting them.
If you use
the cool thing about the LEAP process is we can solve that one big thing.
Yep.
Then we can go on to the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh,
Exactly.
and just do them one at a time.
Yep.
Right.
'Cause how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
It goes back to that medical concept of going to see your primary care physician. They're going to do the triage first. Hey, what's your blood pressure? What's your body temp? What's your weight? What's your family history? The consultative questions of just getting a baseline of where they're at. And then they could say, here's some points that we need to discuss.
Yeah.
Or you're coming into the physician saying, these are some things that are bothering me. These are some things that I have going on in my body. Can you help? So it's that same concept that we want to take in LEAP System. We take this model, we take the present position, those 27 different areas that money can flow through.
Yep.
And we analyze those on a macroeconomic, big picture point of view. Then we can take a specific issue or a specific pain point
One big pain.
Yeah.
and
One big
narrow
pain.
down to how's this affecting the rest of your financial
Yeah,
body.
it's awesome because you go to the doctor and this person has the problem was maybe back pain, right? But this back pain is causing knee problems, it's causing neck problems, it's causing all sorts of problems, and you can relate that to finance. Maybe taxes are your big pain point. This tax can cause an income problem in your retirement, cause all sorts of different problems. So getting down, finding that one problem, that can help solve the rest of the other problems as
Absolutely.
I'll
Love
tell
it.
you this. Like, I'm a perfect example of that. Like, you could say, I went, I threw my back out, right? This is truth, God honest truth. When I was at the .com, took a flight from here to California. The only flight left seat was the last one, middle. I'm sitting between these two dudes that are like bigger than Kenny, and I'm like this for 6 straight hours with cold air blowing on me, right? So get back home, and I threw my back out, and I was in trouble. I mean, I couldn't drive, I couldn't get in the car, I couldn't stand, I couldn't sit, like it was awful, right? So I go to the doctor, they go check it out, but it wasn't my back. Then I start looking, well, it's because my flat feet. And it I started having, because it puts the way that it was my feet were, right? But then I also noticed, oh yeah, well I go check and I'm like, I was in like a size waist for me, like 4 sizes bigger than I was in college, right? So it's like it wasn't my back, and then they thought
Your
it was
waist
foot
is pulling your
problem,
spine out.
Yeah, exactly. That with my feet and then my back, and it was like, no, it was like I started cutting weight. I didn't have problems with my feet anymore, and I didn't have back issues. But to say I go in and see a doctor, I got a headache. All right, we're going to go have brain surgery. Right? Like that's the same thing. Like some of these guys going, oh, I need $500,000 term policy. You have no idea what my situation is. Where'd you pull that out?
Right.
And I've lived that. That's why I see these things where I'm like, you see people try to cut. They always try to go. We like the LEAP process, but it's so long. No one wants to do it. You go, well. And that's the thing I've heard too. From
you want the easy button. Right?
You go to see a doctor, you're gonna, they ask you all those for a reason.
Yeah.
Like you say the same thing. Family history. If you knew family, I'd be really worried if your cholesterol was like 300. You could die tomorrow. Like I went with my wife. That's why I know. It's like you're gonna die tomorrow. I'm like, what? But it's like, oh, family history. Oh, both my parents have high cholesterol, and my dad's 88 now, and probably lived to be 98. Oh, okay. So it's a family history. It's okay. So they know how to treat it differently versus rushing me in for, right? It's just like, it's the same thing with LEAP. It's like the reason why you need to know everything. And I think most times maybe you hear LEAP, quasi-LEAP professionals, I call them. They like the concept. They just don't want to go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
They don't think people have the time, but if me, a potential client prospect, you're asking me all these things, the thing that jumped out at me is no one's asked me all this stuff. They usually just go, Wes, what do you have in your investment accounts? And where are your 401k? Oh, good. Okay, I'll transfer them in.
Yep.
And take the risk tolerance questionnaire. I take another one of those freaking things. And I'm like, it's like I already know. I'm very conservative. I know. But when you explain everything and you kind of go through and go, all right, well, you got everything here, and you have something easy to show and explain to me. Like my wife can see this, go, I don't like that. Like management fee, 1 point. What do we have our options?
Right.
Well, like the turnover ratio.
Yep.
A lot of people don't know. I love that. Look at the return's great on that, Wes. Okay, but do you understand what that means? The more it gets sold, you're paying.
Their costs increase.
People don't notice that. That's like the wizard behind the.
Well, we can go back to concepts like folks repeat things that they've heard without necessarily verifying whether it's true or not. I put some pictures on the wall on this side of the podcast studio that you can't see from this camera angle, but it's inventions that have been made since 1899. And the reason I bring that up is that the commissioner of the patent office in 1899 went to Hoover. Jake, fact check me on who was president of the United States. I think it was Hoover. At any rate, the commissioner of the patent office in 1899 said to the president, we need to close the patent office because everything that's been invented, that could be invented, has been invented. We don't need the patent office anymore. And if you can't see it on the wall here, all the way down to the American football, the adding machine,
You can barely
the bank
see
vault, were all created and developed after 1899. So if what we knew to be true turned out not to be true, when is the earliest time of that we would want to know? Like right now.
Yep.
And the beauty that you've been able to help bring to Leap Systems are calculators that can help us as advisors show our clients in a very short, methodical way that whatever they want to take into consideration, whatever way we want to test what's going on in their life, whether it be the effects of compound interest in a taxable account, to the effects of retirement accounts and taxation on those accounts over their lifetime. Whatever they want to examine, we can examine it microeconomically or in the small finite look, or we can jump big picture and say, what else is going on in your life? What else can we show you that helps you move from where you are to where you want to be as efficiently as possible? Leap does that.
Right.
Leap, a lifetime economic acceleration. Acceleration being the key, guys.
Yep.
Process. Not a product, a process.
Right.
Dave, you've done a magnificent job since you've taken over the helm with that. One of the things I'd like to take today, we were talking about a pre-tax account. Can you jump on the pre-tax account for us real quick? And this is a calculator. I don't know if I have it in my system yet or not. Drum roll. Hopefully we do. Go find. Just go up to calculators to grab all. I'm telling you, like you know.
Which one would you?
Yeah. Tell them the wizard how to
We
wizard.
have a couple of them that.
Yeah, let's go.
Could we do person A, person B's got the a qualified
Sure. Let's do
plan
it.
to show you? We could change it to be qualified.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna use this calculator when a prospect comes in and they have a question. Tee this up for us and tell us what all these numbers are going to mean.
Okay. So we got person A, and this is a guy who comes in and says, well, I've got $1 million in a qualified plan, let's say, or retirement age, let's say 67. We'll use the same one. Let's just say they live out to 90. We throw a 22% tax rate, their tax rate, what have you. Qualified plan, and let's say what's in the qualified plan. Let's say they have $1 million.
Qualified plan being a 401k,
401k,
traditional
403b.
IRA.
Yep. This is where they figured they're getting the tax savings now, and they feel that's what they say. It's tax savings, right? We're saving tax instead of delaying it, which is the true test. But and let's say it makes let's be I'm a conservative guy. We'll say 4%.
Okay.
Let's say over their lifetime, each year just gets 4% a year, and that's it. And let's say they want to live on the interest, right?
Okay. So 40,000 a year.
Yep. Now we all know that 40,000 a year, and you know what we'll do? We'll even make this easier to be. Let's just make the tax 20%, so that way it's the easy numbers.
Yeah.
I like
Got
easy, right? So there's 67 up to 73. It's 40, makes 8. You know, there's you're paying the tax. There's your net income you're pulling out. So 32 and 8's 40,000 gross. The account's $1 million. It goes up 4%. We pull money out. We end that, and we could do if you want beginning year, end of year. But let's say we're pulling the money out end of year. Okay, just to make it easy. And then, but then what we also know here is qualified money. So what ends up happening is that, once we hit after 73, 74, 75, now we're starting to meet RMDs kick in and we have to pull more than we need out, right? So in this situation, you don't want to do anything. You end up living on the income and you leave $752 for your kids.
Okay.
In this situation. Great. But what if I could tell you that without doing anything, we could do a different strategy? You can live on more and you can leave your kids more with the same money.
Sounds too good to be true.
Too good to be true. I know. Well, so here's what we're going to do. So let's say, I'll go down here even. I'll even just do this. So let's say person B, what they did. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what you're doing. I'm just saying in this situation, person A did this. Person B, what they did is they went and they bought an insurance policy instead. So
Here we go, Dave. You're going to sell me an insurance policy.
no, I'm just going to say what this person did. So this person used $25,000 a year earlier for 10 years policy, paid it up, so that what they did is when they died at their end of life, their death benefit, they finished and they had $1 million at their death benefit.
At 90 years old.
90 years
90
old.
years young.
Yep, 90 years young.
Okay.
But because they spent $25,000 a year, we're not doing $1 million and $1 million. They only had $750,000 at the beginning of retirement to live on. And we'll say that same account earned them 4%.
So let me stop you there if I can.
Yeah.
You're saying that person B has $750,000 because they took $25,000 a year for 10 years.
Correct.
And put it in their insurance account.
Correct.
That bought this $1 million
Correct.
death benefit.
Yep.
So therefore, they ended up with less money in retirement.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So far, Dave, I'm like, that doesn't sound good for them. It sounds like you may have done something really evil to these people.
I potentially could have. But because they have this $1 million death benefit that's the G guarantee, it's in there. And we could
The
circle
G
back
word.
to annuities, by the way, why people think it's bad. They don't want the guarantee. People like
Yeah.
guarantees, though.
Yeah.
So it's the guarantee. It's the golden ticket. Like you guys like Charlie and Chocolate Factory. Remember? Laying in the,
You know that?
Who lives in a
Seen
bed? That's weird. That's really creepy. But the golden ticket.
Oh,
The golden ticket. What's
Johnny
that?
Depp.
Well, we're talking about the old movie versus the new movie.
Oh, old school. Got to go old school.
Yeah.
So if we want to look and see, okay, well, what does that mean? What does that do for me? Well, let's see. Person A, we saw what happens to them, right? They're living on the interest, and at some point, they got to live on more. They got to pull more money out. This
Yeah.
is where they stand.
And they're pulling more out because they hit RMD phase, and the 8,000 at some point exceeded.
Yeah, the 40 grand in year at 75. That they finally had to pull more.
Had to pull more.
Yep.
Yep.
Based on the balance.
Got it.
So in this situation, because we have the permission to spend down, so actually we're taking that 750 at 4% a year, and we're saying, what can I pull out every single year, so that when I die, it's zero. And if you notice, it stays over. We never increases because it stays over the RMDs.
Yep.
Because it's a lower number. So now if we look at it.
So spin down, Dave, what you're saying there is that this person is taking a distribution that's both interest and principal.
Principal, correct.
Okay.
And then, so what we show is, okay, every year they're pulling that amount out. Every year they're paying the same amount of tax in this situation because it's all qualified.
Yeah.
This is their net income, which is consistent every year. If we compare it, there's first up to year 80, they're making more per year than the other
net
scenario.
Increase. Got it.
Right? Here's your account value to verify. Are you sure I pull 49 out? I'm going to be, it really zeroes out in the end?
Yep. Okay.
It does. There's the numbers. We could say, but here's the difference, is that they could spend it down to zero because we know at the end of life, and this is just $1 million, we all know, let's just assume it doesn't grow,
Yep.
right? It stays at $1 million. And then we also illustrate here every year what the legacy is that we're leaving to the kids. So in this situation, and this is probably even more so, difference, we're leaving them $752 here of qualified money that the kids have. And in this situation, there is none. They're getting $1 million non-taxable.
A tax-free asset.
Tax-free asset. So,
Dave, can I stop you there?
Yep.
And run you back to when cash flow-wise, in the later years,
Correct.
the cash flow went down to $39,352.
right.
person on the left has after tax $51,497. How's that better for them at the end? Where are they getting the excess capital from to live their standard of living?
Well, and they said they could be using it from Social Security. It could be from other.
The policy went down in value, or did the policy stay the same?
Policy stayed the same here.
Okay.
In fact, and this is assuming zero increase.
So at the end, the net income that person A got was $930,000. If you can highlight that.
Yeah.
Was $930,521. Person B, net income $944,450, plus a legacy value of $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
The differential being the legacy value down there at the bottom.
Correct.
Of $247,000 without any additional out-of-pocket cost. Because back up top.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and we didn't even put in the legacy tax rate. Did not put in a legacy tax rate, which applies here because it's qualified money.
The legacy tax rate, okay.
So when they die and they're leaving their heirs, what are we looking at?
They got to spend it within 10 years.
Yeah.
Right, so an extra $100,000. So maybe that's putting them
To a couple of tax
30.
bracket.
Call it 30%.
30% tax.
Wow.
So now we're looking at, and we're not. And the interesting thing, we're talking just $1 million, not a lot. But if we're only talking $1 million, but yet the differential that you're going to leave your kids is close to a half of that. That would you be interested in that? Right?
You living the same way,
Same way.
but creating more efficiency. Mm-hmm. And by the way, in this insurance policy, there's an opportunity if we need it, as we talked earlier in the show. There's a buffer there, which means that we could spend down some of the cash from that account.
Correct. And if let's say the policy, if that value increased like 2%, not even, let's say it just the death benefit went up 1% a year.
Wow, 730,000.
One little percent, and there you go. So you can live how you want.
Right.
And without even worrying, with the guarantee amount every single year, and then your increase is like 730,000 to your kids.
And internally, what that means is that those who don't quite maybe even understand all these numbers yet, the way they've been illustrated, there's additional wealth inside that insurance asset that could be used, that could be collateralized, that could be an additional asset to spend money on their terms.
Right. And you could usually, this concept's easy to start with, and then they can go, okay, and then if you even get into market volatility, because this just assumes the 4%.
And then also tax rates.
Right.
Where are they going to go?
Oh,
right.
They're probably going to go higher, so that's even less money there and more money on that.
Right. So this is the other, the other newer one we just came out with, IRA wealth transfer, is the other situation, I'll say. So this is like, most people retiring, back then it's like, what do you need to retire? What's your number, right? And they go, $1 million. If I told you had $1 million when you retired, Isaiah, right? You go, yeah.
Yeah.
$1 million, I could use that.
Yeah.
And then the older you get, you realize,
It's not $1 million.
I don't know.
that $1 million won't even get, no way, no shot, right? So now we're like, okay. But this gets you first, but if you go, you have other situations, right? Everybody's micro situation, right? Where maybe they get to the point where you're dealing with more affluent people. And they were always told, all right, well, I'm already, when you start a job, like almost every place goes, well, here you go. Good news. You got 401k, and company's going to putting in X amount unless you don't want to.
Yeah.
I've seen that in these companies. I'm like, all right, so they're doing it already. You don't even have a choice. It's being taken out. And now you get to a point and you're like, well, great, I got all this qualified money, but we don't need it.
Yeah.
And we hear all these horror stories. Why would we pull money from it? Because then that's, especially with the tax rates and retiree tax rates, like my dad's still whining about, I'll say whining, sorry, Dad. He hates
He
pulling
said
out-
it, not us, Mr.
My
West.
dad, yeah. He hates, every year he tells me the same thing. Oh my God, I'm getting killed. I hate pulling money from my IRA. I said, but isn't it great, Dad? That's why they wanted it. He goes,
No.
and he's a single, and it's not like I don't consider my dad that affluent, but he's getting crushed. So it's like we have another concept for that person to go, all right, well, they have all these other assets, but now they're stuck with that. And they go, they don't know what other options they have. So we have another micro, easy concept solution. I don't necessarily think we need to get into it now, though, but time-wise. But there you go. So that's really what we've been working on and getting feedback from people like Kenny, and like look forward to getting any info from you as well, where like the models we said, and I think we all understand like its value from like a client's perspective, like me and right, like Shorty, like us, and then from like the power of being able to easily illustrate a higher level, but then also I'm really interested in the micro levels because for me personally, being a client, I use these all the time.
Yeah.
I go in, I use these calculators all the time. Like, all right, well, I think like right now, where do we stand? Like, where do we stand? I go, well, okay, how much do we have in qualified? All right, let me put it in this calculator and see what we could do, and maybe what we could look at doing to help us. So,
And understanding the math. So there could be a person who puts numbers in a calculator out there online, but really understanding what the math means and what it not only means to you, your spouse, but to your legacy or and the legacy being, in an ideal world, you want to have money left over. You don't want to be that person earlier that had $1,165 left. Playing it that close is not the game you want to play. So having as much money left over as possible is great, but it's a double-edged sword, right? If you had a lot left over, maybe you didn't spend and enjoy enough. But it comes back to what creates the permission slip. What gives you the permission slip, like what you showed in this example here, the ability to spend both principal and interest, not being relegated to only spending the interest from your portfolio. And if the market turns south and you're completely equities, well, hey, guess what, Wes? This year you got to go back to work because the market didn't perform well. You can't spend the interest because there was no interest to spend. But if we have a strategy, if we have a plan in place that helps offset that risk, if we have a defense factor or a defense buffer.
Jars in the yard.
Jars in the yard.
there you go.
I love it. Jars in the yard. What's your jar in the yard? We're
Yeah.
going to come up with all
like
kinds
it.
of terms. Wes is a great
Wes is
one-liner.
great.
guy. He
I
gets
tell
that.
it.
Try it.
So, in closing things out today, if you're an advisor watching this today, how can someone get hold of you to find out about Leap Systems and how to improve their practice as it relates to using software and methodologies like this?
Sure. Yeah, you just really easy. Shoot us an email at support
You can talk to them there.
support@leapsystems.com, and so we'll get back to you in 24 hours. We'll set up. We've got free trial subscription, provide you free hour training, and anything else you need. Yeah,
And send a
we're there
check
for
to Kenny Porter for telling you about this.
you. It wouldn't hurt. Yeah,
Yeah.
referrals.
Yep. Call us for referrals.
Right.
On the other side, the flip coin of that, if you're a consumer watching today and these concepts have intrigued you a little bit, or maybe you've heard about Leap Systems in the past, wherever you're at in life, what we would lay out to you, whether you're a young man in your 20s who's starting out with a young family and you want to create an environment where you have your castle protected not only today, but to the future you. We've got people with that experience who can empathize and relate to where you are at your stage of life. If you're an old guy like Dave and I, feel free to reach out to the firm, a pre-retiree, retiree, Got a team of advisors here on the couch and myself who are willing and able to help take you through a process that we can verify with you where you are and verify where it is you want to be and give you a realistic second opinion. And I always like to say a second opinion, Wes, you can't get a second opinion from the first person that gave it to you. So if you'd like a real second opinion about where you are, reach out to us. You can do that anywhere on this YouTube channel. There's going to be links there, right, Jake? Jake's our controller in the back room, where you can reach out to us on our site, or you can go to kennethporterandco.com, and there's going to be a link right on the front page there where you can start the journey with us. Dave, thank you so much for coming and having a talk with us today about the LEAP systems.
Absolutely.
I'm a believer. I've used it with my family. I've used the strategies and philosophies with my family for 27 years.
I'm a believer.
You're a believer.
I'm a believer.
A believer.
So we got another one now.
There you go.
You're a believer.
Been saving that one.
Shannon's been able to verify the strategies and the systems used, not only as a client, but now as an advisor working with our clients today. Wes, the new guy, and I say new guy lovingly, he is, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I can tell you I have seen a change with him as a wealth manager, in understanding how important it is to look beyond what the markets can do for our clients to really now, he's been, I think, converted in a lot of ways. He's not agnostic about LEAP anymore. He's a believer.
He's a believer. I was about to say, you're a believer.
And then, Isaiah's been
believe it.
exposed to this as, my son growing up in our household, the good, the bad, the uglies of life, has seen the systems and processes that I've shared with clients over the years to where he came back after serving his country going, Dad, I actually do think I want to be in the business now. I want to learn the business. And, man, he's taking the bull by the horns and working with our clients' children. Mm-hmm. And I say children in a way that young men, young ladies who are looking for opportunity to say, what else is out there that I can do with my money to maximize. And again, I come back, if you can maximize your protection, if you can maximize your savings, and you could maximize your growth opportunity, what would be a better way of living life than having your maximum financial potential?
Right.
I can't think of a better way to live.
Kiss drummer?
Kiss drummer would be close. So,
Very close.
very close. Dave,
Kenny.
awesome
Thank you very
having you
much.
today.
Great
Gents,
being here.
thanks for being part of the team.
Ken?
Thanks for joining us on the couch there today. And we'll turn the camera off now and party back here. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Blackbox.